Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, and welcome to our first vlog. Combined here. You know who's with you today? Mr. Know-It-All, the sports wizard. And joining me today and every day for our vlog together is Mr. J. Dati Kashvili himself. Woo!
Hi, everybody.
Yes, it's Jeffrey. He's with you today, the renowned painter. He does it all. You know how it is. So we just decided to do a vlog together. You know, talk about the things that interest us and maybe will interest you. So why are we doing this? I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna give it up to Jeffy. Let's hear what you got to say.
Boredom, I
Yeah,
think,
probably.
mostly. We both have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we have a lot of free time too.
Well, I mean, realistically speaking, I think it's a good medium, and it's a good way to hash things out.
That's right.
Talking things out with people and trying to see what their point of view is on any number of topics. The best way to grow as a person. You know, just because we're all out of school doesn't mean we're done learning.
That's right.
And
We listen to a lot of these too, right? I listen
Yeah.
to this Ben Shapiro, this Tim Ferriss, this Joe Rogan. Yeah,
Sam
everybody
Harris.
knows. Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of good content out there these days, and
You know, I may not agree with everything, but I listen to it and I try to do my best with it.
you need a lot of thought exercises.
That's right.
You know, you can't necessarily agree with everything you hear just because somebody has an audience.
That's right.
Everybody does make mistakes, and not even that necessarily, but until you've learned something, you don't know it, right? Until you're exposed to a different type of thought, you don't even consider certain things in life. So,
With that said,
yes.
let's talk about our first subject for today. We'll try to get in as many as we can until we're tired or whatever. We'll just talk and babble. First subject of the day is cryptocurrency and what the hell is it, and like why do we need it, and what we think about it, whether we're invested into it, and you could just try to talk about it as much as you can.
I think what it is probably the first place to start.
I agree.
Right, and then we can branch off as to what challenges and what benefits it may pose.
Sure.
So, first of all, I just want to say I have no idea whether I should be looking at you or the camera. It's still something for me to.
Well, whatever you want. You could talk to them or you could talk to me. Whatever you
Right.
feel like you want to do.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, what is cryptocurrency?
Right.
Now, the best analogy I've heard so far is to think of it as a ledger that's dipped in amber, preserved, moving forward, with continual layers being added around it. The layers being encryption to whatever the hell encryptions are, protect this ledger. Right? So there's a copy of how many bitcoins, for example, are in existence, who owns what percentage or amount of them, and there's consistent computing power dedicated to mining more of them. Mining I still don't have 100% grasp on, to be honest. And there's computer power going towards the encryptions. So the benefit is everybody has a copy of the ledger, so you will always know through multiple sources who is supposed to own what amount of however much it is that they do own. And everything's tagged to people based on whatever codes there are to identify who you are.
I mean, for me, from what I've heard, this is the way that I interpret it. There is no exact value to something until there's somebody else that's willing to pay for it.
Sure.
So if I own a product and somebody else is willing to pay something for it, then it's got a value, and that value is established by a market system of many people wanting that one product, right?
Sure.
So with particularly Bitcoin, there's an established market for it. There's a trading website that is very well established, which is called Coinbase, where people could trade these cryptocurrencies, these four major cryptocurrencies. And then there are many other major websites where you can buy it, just like you could buy something on E-Trade, on Scottrade, TD Ameritrade, and whatever, Charles Schwab, whatever it is that you want to, wherever you want to trade. Now, the marketplace establishes a price. what Bitcoin does is it's limited in the amount of Bitcoins that are actually released into the public. Right now, we're at somewhere along the lines of 16 million Bitcoins. They started to get released in 2009, and they're going to end their release when they hit 21 million Bitcoins reached. So they try to estimate a value of what a Bitcoin is worth today based on the 16 million Bitcoins that are there that are already released. Now, the current price of a Bitcoin, I don't know, I haven't checked in a while, but I would assume
Last I
it's
saw was around 13.
13. Okay, so it's like 13, 14,000. So why is it worth 13,000? Well, the reason why is because currently there are people that are selling it for 13,000, and there's people that are buying it at 13,000. The current market cap, so market capitalization of Bitcoin is close to $300 billion. And the total market cap for all cryptocurrencies from last I checked was around $500 billion. So that's not a small amount of money by any say. Like, for instance, if we would compare it to major companies' market caps, market cap of a company like Google is around 600 million or 600 billion, excuse me, or Facebook, which is around 520 billion. So that's a major amount of investing. However, only 50 million, from what I've heard, again, 50 million people or less have ever owned a cryptocurrency. So there's not a lot of people that are exposed to it at all.
Right.
So the way that you should look at it is, I think it's like a basketball card. Imagine you own a basketball card, and in Bitcoin's case, it'd be like a Jordan rookie card.
Sure.
So you own a Jordan rookie card. Jordan dies, the rookie card goes up more. Now, if Jordan's popularity continues to increase, he keeps releasing sneakers, 100 years after his life, that rookie card continuously appreciates.
The Jordan brand is not doing well these days, by the way.
Right, but I'm just saying, let's just continue. So, say that it's something that will, for 100 years, be well known, right? That product will always have a value because there will be always people that are continuously interested in it.
Sure.
So
it's built an ecosystem,
right,
where people have a faith in the value.
Exactly. So, and if it's a limited amount, and if it's useful, this is the one key that I still can't prove. I can't prove its use. Then it definitely will always grow in value because it's limited.
Well, as far as its use, most people I know go towards its security and the fact that it's decentralized.
Right.
Meaning, as far as I understand it, the market completely controls the valuation of it.
Right.
No, there's no country that can step in the way China artificially pegs the yuan.
Yep.
It's not backed by any sort of.
It's controlled by the people that own it. Right.
Exactly. So that's what I've understood is supposed to be the benefit for it. To me, I have a certain issue.
Yeah, the counter argument. I think the counter argument to that is if the Winklevoss guys, the ones that own 96,000 of these Bitcoins, they decide to sell them tomorrow because they want to cash out their investment, which they've made when Bitcoin was at hundreds or tens of dollars.
Right.
They'll crash the market because that 96. Who's gonna now? We're gonna need to purchase those 96,000 Bitcoins back.
Right.
So unless you're going to find a consumer that's going to be interested in buying such a bulk amount, which you probably won't because it's going to cost a lot of money at that point. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. It's going to decrease substantially, maybe 70%. I don't know, some obscene amount.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean that's always that's always one of the fears. The other one is what do you do once countries start regulating, right? Like news came out today that South Korea is planning on inputting other regulations. Back when Bitcoin was trading in 17, 18 range last week, right? After the SEC came out with the fact that they intend on putting in regulations regarding cryptocurrencies, that's when it dipped down to almost 10.5, I think.
Right.
It was. Right. So there's the volatility aspect of it, but if you're buying it as an investment, I don't think you necessarily have to worry about it as much because you shouldn't be putting in any money that you can't afford to lose.
I agree. Right? Yeah, that's with any investment. I feel like
right.
If unless you're doing a long-term investment for your for your future into something like a growth stock or like a bond for like 40 years down the line, it's
if you have a specific goal for
exactly
it,
right.
If you put something in a 10-year CD, you're good on
every single investment implies risk. There's no financial advisor out there that's ever going to tell you that this is a risk-free, and if they do, even the treasury bond has some sort of risk, so you have to, that's the way you should look at it. There's no other way of looking at it, I feel like. The other thing that people are like very interested in is there's like the many other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, which is more affordable under $800. There's Litecoin, there's Ripple, right? And then so from what I got, this is very interesting because I didn't know anything about this until like three weeks ago, is that you can purchase some of these major. So there's like, from what I know, from like if you Google market cap of cryptocurrency, you'll see that there's like 1,400 various cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And like they all vary in price. Some are
You know what? Some companies listed on the exchange have somehow changed their name to what people believe is a cryptocurrencies, and they've seen tremendous spikes.
Exactly,
just because
exactly.
they've got crypto in their name or blockchain. You know?
Exactly. So and that's what they try and manipulate as hard as they can.
Well,
yeah, we know the world we live in, but
I can't say I wouldn't do the same.
Absolutely, if I had the ability to do it, you do whatever you do to manipulate and try to make as much. But so anyway, there are a lot of other cryptocurrencies. So like there's a top 100 list where market caps could exceed hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's a lot of money invested into other cryptocurrencies.
Right.
Now, these cryptocurrencies, how do you purchase those cryptocurrencies? Like that was my question, right? Do you go on the website? Is there like some other website that you go outside of Coinbase? Coinbase only allows you to buy those for.
There's Binance.
So do you know what you could buy in Binance? I'm pretty sure that you could still only buy those few.
I mean, as far as I understand it, there's a lot more listed on there. Like my brother actually, he's bought something called Tron, something called VeChain. That's where he has Ripple. So there are definitely more things you can get on Binance. I still haven't looked into it as much. I opened one because he had to send me some, but at this point I haven't really looked into it as much. I was actually messing around with CryptoKitties.
Yeah.
So I opened
Coinbase. Tell everyone what that is.
CryptoKitties is something very interesting. It's collectible digital cats that you can buy, sell, and breed, and it's overlaid on Ethereum. What that specifically means, I'm still working out the details of. But at the end of the day, you everything involves a transaction, and there's a fee associated with processing the transaction. So it looks to be as if that'll be like the future in-game transactions.
Yep.
For like all sorts of gaming, right? A lot of people now take issue with a lot of games coming out from EA, for example, with how aggressive they are about getting people to pay money. But it seems to be that that's exactly where everything's headed. So this is like a very good test run of what type of technologies might emerge from it, right? It's still very young in its inception. I think they've only been around for a few weeks, but they've already had, last I saw, like exceeding the $20 million worth of Ethereum put into it, and it's an interesting thing because it's kind of like Tamagotchi over Bitcoin. Why there's any value is very hard to understand, except for the fact that people are willing to pay for these things. That's kind of why I got into it a little bit, just to see how it works and to see what might develop out of it.
I mean, so I think that's very interesting, but I was going back to the how you can buy all these various currencies.
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah. I opened a Coinbase,
and
at this point there are multiple ways to do it. You can use a debit card, you can use a credit card, or you can put in your routing information from your checking account. Mm-hmm. So
you actually had to have bought Bitcoin in order to have bought the other currencies, right? Because
certain currencies you need to have Bitcoin to buy the other ones. I think Ripple, you specifically need either Litecoin or Bitcoin in order to buy it, right? But for whatever's listed on Coinbase, which is now Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin, you can get any one of those four. You don't necessarily need to start at Bitcoin and then work your way into the others. But the smaller ones, I believe that to be the case.
So there's two arguments that I have against this, and I've spoken to a bunch of like bigger investors than I am now. Mind you, I'm only invested into overseas transactions for various various stocks, but that I'm only basically trading over the counter and like bonds, stocks, and just traded on the exchange, New York Stock Exchange, basically. But
the old timey stuff,
right? The old timey stuff, apparently, right? So, my two questions are: how like some of these currencies, the
Yeah.
creators that have created these currencies, right? Although they've limited the amount of currency that is actually out there,
Sure.
they have kept a big amount for themselves. So like the guy that invented Litecoin, he just sold all of his like Litecoin, but apparently like the guy
Yeah,
that
a
owned
couple of days
Right.
before the SEC came out about regulations, so you tell me
exactly
what,
right.
what he knew.
and
and
but
what
he
didn't
owned
know.
like 80% of all like now, mind you, it didn't even crash Litecoin at all. Actually, Litecoin's been going up since. But he like Litecoin, Ripple. There's a lot of these that are owned in majority
Ripple's
stakes.
backed by banks now. I don't know who owns what percentage of
Right,
it, but
exactly.
that's why a lot of people are really interested in Ripple these days. But
Exactly, for bank transactions. I mean, so like that's the thing. I feel like you really need to do your research because if one person or like one group of people control a mass amount and they've let out a small portion or like like 20% of a certain cryptocurrency, now people are buying it. What if those people decide to sell the remainder of that currency or sell a major portion of it? Now that completely deflates the value of your currency. So now there's a ton
That's-
that get released.
I think that's if there aren't necessarily enough buyers for it, and if they try to do it in
course,
one shot,
right.
right? Because if demand is there,
They can
then
slowly
they
right
can
this-
slowly do
right
it, right? But if they try to dump,
right.
that's when everybody else who has a piece of it is exposed. Because-
Right. My other thing. So, I'm sorry to interrupt, but my other thing you can answer probably both at the same time is say that I want to purchase like I don't know. There's many of them. Like you said, like a Bitcoin Black or something. That exists too, right?
Sure.
So I now have to buy Bitcoin or Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or Ripple in order to exchange that for the Bitcoin Black. Now, so essentially, the market is controlled by your first transaction. Say that I now bought, I don't know, $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin went down 20%. Now instead of me investing that money directly into what I wanted to buy, now I lost out on that first transaction. So wouldn't you say that that Bitcoin controls all other cryptocurrencies? That if Bitcoin were to crash, the other cryptocurrencies would go directly with it.
I think if Bitcoin were to crash, they
Drastic.
would all take a hit.
Right.
At this point, I'm not sure how much the other ones, like Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, I think is much more closely tied to Bitcoin.
Right.
But they've all started to gain traction and a bigger foothold. More the entry level, or the barrier to entry rather, has come down so much compared to what the process I remember reading into. Like I considered buying this stuff.
Right. When
long
Silk
time
Road
ago.
was around, right?
Right. So it just seemed like too much of a headache and
Absolutely.
way too tenuous of an investment. And I had enough other things going on that
Absolutely.
I didn't really give it too much thought after that. But it's so much easier than it was at that time. I mean, you've got people's parents asking them how to get it. You've got people getting kids Bitcoin for Christmas gifts.
Right.
So everything's going to branch out a little bit more, and I think there might be less of them necessarily tied to each other. I think it could probably turn into the way some commodities are linked, right? Like gold and silver.
Right.
They don't always necessarily take the same hits, but they do get depressed a little bit. Like you look at stock sectors as well, like tech,
Right.
oil, or energy, whatever it is. There should be a correlation between all of them. Bitcoin taking a hit has the biggest impact on the rest of them because, as you said, a lot of other cryptos can only be purchased through this one. So
Right.
if you lose 12% from your first transaction to your next one, you're losing out on value and still paying fees
Right.
to move it as well.
So I mean, this is like a value argument. I feel like, and the value argument is like what he mentioned is gold. Gold is a very interesting thing. Like it's very hard to even understand gold because like gold has it's like a future, right? So the way that it's trading, it's like the idea behind gold is like what will gold be trading in a certain period of time, and what that value is. Now it's got to be trading higher, right? So like we estimate it to be higher, but is it really higher? You know what I mean? We don't know. Gold has been trading pretty, like we know, it's been trading pretty flat for a very long time.
Been around 1,200.
Yeah, exactly, right. So, what is the value of something? Like, what is the value of a currency? What is the value of a company that doesn't really make any money? Like that's an argument that I just spoke about for like a long period of time. Like how
Twitter?
right, Twitter or Tesla. Like how can you
Tesla's value is Elon Musk. If that guy ever
Right.
dies,
but
Tesla's
how
losing
can
75% value.
give me any argument as how can we establish a value to Twitter. Users currently logged in, we can try to estimate that based on what the Facebook users are and how much we value that stock in
Right.
versus like PE of that stock. Try to figure out like the user base, try to compare the users, but are the users the same? Can we monetize ads the same? Is it the same? Like there's so many questions. It's like it's very hard to set a value on a product which doesn't make any money. Because if it makes money, then we could at least say, well, this amount of users makes this kind of money, and in 10 years we estimate user growth to grow, monetization of these kind of ads, but there's no new products. It's not like there's new products or anything like that.
It's
Essentially,
still pretty surprising considering how long it's been around. I mean,
agreed, right? So like I feel like it's a great add-on to an established business. That's why it's always like trade bait for purchasing for like one of these major,
Right.
But like I feel like it's overpriced anyway. But regardless, how can we assess a value? Like why is Bitcoin worth 16,000 or 12,000, whatever it's worth? Why is it worth that? And then and it comes down to the fact of what I said in the beginning. And that's what it is. Like if I'm willing to pay $13,000 for it, and you're willing to sell it for me for $13,000 because you've made money or you're afraid to lose more money, that's why it's worth that. And it's gonna what I believe is it's a great investment in the sense that of its potential. Nobody knows its potential. Like I would love to invest in Tesla. I just didn't buy it. I was silly enough not to buy it at 180 when it was at 180, and that was my strike price when it hit 200, and it never saw below 300 in like a long period of time. Now I should buy it at 300 because like he said, it's a genius. Like when a while back when I worked for a financial institution, these guys were saying they were going to pay their children's college tuition with Tesla, and I was saying, well, listen, I don't understand how they're ever going to make money, so like why would I ever invest any money into it? And apparently they were right, because it's. Even if this guy doesn't do anything, even in 20 years, it's just a huge fraud. The idea behind it and the potential behind it has more
going to
potential.
space, man.
Yeah,
He's gonna get there.
mind you, I don't mind. After reading his biography or whatever, it was genius. So like he's a genius. There's no doubt about it. But what I'm saying is that down the line, even if it doesn't do anything, his idea is already worth more than Ford, the manufacturers, 50 times more cars than he does. And just because Ford, we know what it's going to do, we know what it's limited to that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Cryptocurrencies, there's no one that can tell me, oh, this is the peak. What if tomorrow, major car companies, there's just an article that's released, okay, Mercedes now accepts Bitcoin to buy its cars. I think that right there makes it go up 30% that day. Just because now it's more authentic. Now it's more, people will buy it more just because a major corporation's using.
I mean, at this point, it seems that there should be big dips along the way.
Right.
Because it's still very young in its inception, and it's only been mainstream as far as I can remember for the last year, right? Like,
Yeah.
this last year has been the year of Bitcoin, and it's only got room to grow because it's not going anywhere, right? To some degree, the technology is going to find its application in various different tech industries.
Right.
I can't imagine them. Otherwise, I'd probably be in the industry at the moment.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the implications for how widespread this could be, considering what its market cap is at the moment and how few users there are,
Right.
there's only room for it to grow. And even if things take a dip at the moment, getting in at this level is probably better off in the long run once it becomes the standard.
Right.
Right here, it's already got this value with so little day-to-day capabilities.
Exactly.
Right. It's expensive to do transactions. It takes time, and for a lot of people, it's even difficult to figure out how to do them. Right. There are all sorts of things being built to accept them.
Right.
It's going to be at some point probably as easy as Apple Pay is now, where you just tap your phone against whatever swipe machine there is, and it does the transaction instantly. But
the other thing is that the idea behind it is so great. Like the idea behind eliminating a middleman. We were just talking about like how there are some cryptocurrencies, like I can't pinpoint which one, but there's a cryptocurrency out there that is trying to deal specifically with real estate, where we eliminate the broker in this. Now, mind you, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs and everything like that. That's terrible, but that's where we're heading as a society. Like automation, like that's where it's going. There's no way around that, right? So
that's why
yeah.
a minimum wage of like a working minimum wage
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
That's irrelevant, right?
Because you're not going to have to pay anybody anything because nobody's going to have any jobs left over.
Exactly.
Going
Right. So
back to what you were
yeah.
saying.
So it's like imagine you have like now I'm putting my apartment or house on the market. Now there's a 5% built-in fee for the broker. Now imagine I can just transfer somebody certain cryptocurrencies and it's a handshake deal. And now this person has the cryptocurrency. I have the confirmation. He got his full value for his apartment. We didn't have to pay a 5% fee. Isn't that the greatest thing in the world? Like, as long as it's a secure transaction, I feel like that's where this world is going to, and we're going to eliminate all middlemen. That's why the banks are completely and totally against it, because they're just not going to need to be around.
the smart ones are getting in the door right
Exactly.
now. Like Bank of America is working with Ripple.
Yep.
I don't know exactly what their intentions are, but I mean, Ripple's grown
Yeah, it's from
500%
or something.
or
Yeah,
it might even be
yeah.
more now.
It's over $1 now. I mean, I remember it was a
From-
pennies. Yeah.
Right, like
Yeah.
my brother got in at 19 cents a month
Yeah.
ago.
Right.
Now it's last I saw it was trading at like 120 something.
Yeah, exactly.
So that type of growth is really hard to find, but that's what's also a little bit tricky about all of these ICOs, right?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, it's an initial coin offering.
Yeah.
And there's nothing stopping anybody from creating one of these things.
Yep.
The fact that people are jumping in them, making quick money off of them, and then dumping them
Yeah.
seems to me a very easy way to get people to lose money
Yeah.
very quickly.
Exactly. So you really need to know what you're investing into.
Exactly. There are differences between the currencies, right? Some of them offer a faster transaction rate. Some of them offer more transactions in a day. Again, to me, the technology is still relatively novel, and I've got a lot to still learn about all of this. But there should be some reason that one of these should be set apart from another, right? There needs to be some other benefit to go and gamble on one new one versus one of the ones that's already got some sort of attraction. Because if you think about it, there probably are people that are day trading
For sure.
cryptocurrencies at the
Yeah.
moment, which is kind of scary as well, considering how many times Coinbase has
Yeah.
halted
exactly.
all transactions
Right. Mhm.
in the last 2 weeks alone.
Right.
And it's so illiquid. So, trading it around is a little bit of a scary proposition, but from an investment standpoint, regardless of what any of it's worth at the moment,
Right.
you're not really necessarily looking at one full Bitcoin, right? Because at the end of the day, you can buy an infinitesimally small fraction
Right.
of one Bitcoin or one Ethereum or one Litecoin,
Exactly, right.
etc. So the percentage that it could increase is what you're really looking for, right? Like on a stock, for a trader, you're
Yeah.
happy getting
10%.
anywhere from 3 to 5. No, 10% you're ecstatic. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if you get 3 to 5%, you're doing solid on your trades. If you
Right.
pull that off all year, you're not going to be upset about it at all, right? 10% is a great mark, but I mean, it's hard to get movement like that outside of anything but options.
Let me get the food. You continue talking.
Right. I'm not talking without you. We're going to take a break.